Hello and welcome to Seagulls Social, episode 11. Of course, I'm your host, Maz, and I'm joined by my regular hosts, Ryan and Ben. How are we, chaps?
Good, Maz, yourself?
Yeah, not bad, mate. Not bad. A very good result on the weekend, so
Mate,
in very
absolutely.
good spirits. And of course, we are joined by Liam, who is also known as Albion Analytics on Twitter or Instagram. How you doing, Liam? You good?
I'm great, thank you. Yeah, nice to be on.
Good man. Yeah, no, pleasure.
Good to have you.
Yeah, pleasure to have you, mate. It's going to be interesting to sort of find out a bit more about sort of the analytical side of things because
also for me, putting a face to a name.
Yeah.
I'm sure a lot of people,
There you are.
Exactly.
I might disappoint, but yeah, they've got the face to the name.
No, don't say that.
I'm sure you'll be fine, mate. So just quickly before we sort of get into the Liverpool analysis, so just quickly tell us about sort of what it is you do, because I know you do a bit of work for Brighton as well.
Yeah.
So what is it exactly that you do, and just sort of tell the listeners a bit more.
Sure. It all stemmed from a Twitter page I set up back in, would have been last year now, back in 2019, after Houghton went. Just with the aim of putting out some more stats and stuff. To be honest with you, I was quite anti the decision at the time. I felt that perhaps there were some harsh perceptions around the sacking, the style of play, our performance, etc. So it was just trying to educate fans a bit really and say, look, here's what the numbers are telling us, and it's just sort of stemmed from there really, alongside the degree that I do at uni. And since then, the club have got in contact and said, look, we like what you're doing. Do you fancy writing a match preview each week and do some other bits? And of course, I jumped at the idea because why wouldn't I? So yeah, it's great.
That's sick. So with your degree, then, what degree do you do?
So I do football coaching and management. I'm studying in Wembley. So Wembley Stadium's my campus that I get to go into each week, which is it's decent.
That's mad. That's mental. Yeah, like obviously, don't get me wrong. We're by far an analytical podcast. So to have your sort of insight into that, but just with regards to analytics, what sort of fascinates you about numbers, and or does it? Or do you just like doing it?
Yeah, I think I enjoy doing it. I honestly, like, I try to explain to people, I'm not a mathematician. I did a GCSE in maths. That's it. I've got no maths background. I'm not a massive fan of numbers, but I'm a fan of trying to understand football a bit better and trying to ultimately work out that I'm not some nerd sat here with a spreadsheet. I'm genuinely intrigued as to how we can win more games. I'm a fan. I want to win games, and that's the way that can help us do a bit better. So yeah,
that's class. Yeah, I'm not
gonna lie
to
you,
Liam.
I was always go on, Maz.
No, go on, Ryan. Go on.
I was going to say, I was always against the stats. I think, we've known each other for a while. So I was always against the stats. So I think you sort of converted me to liking stats, expected goals, all that sort of thing. I must admit, nowadays, I look at it a lot more. I've got to be honest, and I do quite like it. I've actually gained a bit of respect for I've got to admit, your Pascal Gross propaganda consistently has actually got to me. And I've got to admit, expected goals, I'm a fan of it now.
Yeah, there we go. It's just trying to educate. Yeah, I'm not trying to make football more about numbers, because it's not. I like to go to games, watch football myself. I'm not here to see players perform well statistically. It just helps out.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's funny, Ryan, you mentioned XG and stuff. Like in my work group chat, there's this one guy who swears by XG, and there's an account, isn't there? It's quite a popular XG account.
XG philosophy, yeah.
That's it. Yeah, and honestly, every 2 seconds he'll send a link in about XG and all this malarkey. And I'll be honest with you, I'm very anti sort of XG and that sort of stuff, because the way I see it, right, this is just my opinion. The way I look at it is, at the end of the day, the only stat that matters is the score sheet, right?
Yeah.
And you want to win a game, and if it's 3-0, but then someone says, the XG was 7.5 or whatever, I don't know how it works. In my opinion, that doesn't matter. But then I do appreciate the other side of it, where it's nice to see why stats and how that comes into play. So it's a very intriguing thing, and hopefully we can get into it a bit more later on. But before we do, let's get cracking with the Liverpool game itself. So obviously, on the whole, boys, I thought it was a great result. Start with you, Ben. What was your general thoughts?
Yeah, no, of course. Playing against Liverpool, of course, it's going to be a great result, getting a point. Again, it's weird having to say, but I wish we had more. Obviously, I wish we had more.
It's mad,
I feel like we could have got more. Obviously, the first 20 minutes or 15 minutes or so was pretty shaky. I think they had here's a stat for you, Liam. They had about 78% possession after 8 minutes, I saw on Sky, which is mad. And then for us to turn that around and start dominating, and those balls over the top, they were working a treat, weren't they? Yeah, no, I was very very proud of the boys. What about you, Ryan?
Yeah, I think. Imagine if we had Lamptey in that team for that game,
Yeah.
because they had two
I was thinking
really,
that.
really slow centre halves, and if we had Lamptey getting in behind, it would have been. I think we could have easily won that game by quite a distance. But,
Even the fullbacks,
yeah, no,
I thought. Yeah.
yeah, they weren't. Nico Williams, I'm not impressed by. I've got to be honest, but I think great game. We should have probably done a bit better, really, because the Connolly chance in the first half, I think he definitely should have scored that. It was a great ball by Maupay. I know he had a bit of a issue, but I don't know what's going on with that. But no, other than that,
one way of putting it, Ryan.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with that, but I think there's maybe something deeper lying with him. I don't want to get on his back too early because it seems like there's definitely something wrong. Something's getting to him somewhere. I think maybe on the back of the United game, I think something's got to him since then. Maybe the hate online. I know he put a thing into the Premier League about that. Not sure if there's anything in it, but that's just maybe something. But no, I thought the game wise, we deserved the point at the minimum. And whether it was a penalty or not, I think it probably was, maybe, albeit a bit controversial. But we've earned a bit of luck by now. We've had all of this against us. It's quite nice to actually have something go our way. And Gross again on the spot. He seems pretty good on there. I think he needs to be on there from now on.
Yeah, more regularly. Yeah. And Liam, what were your general thoughts?
Without just obviously echoing what you guys have said, to recover a game late on is always good. Looked for a long spell. It's going to be one of those to, as they say, try and turn your losses into draws into wins. Breaking that, I think it's a 9-game run we had before against Liverpool of losses. So great to break that, of course. Felt sort of very reminiscent of that Fulham game a couple of seasons ago under Houghton, when we obviously missed a penalty, then had a deficit and came back. So points great. 10 from 10 is 4 points in the last two, which we quite easily thought we'd get nothing from it. From a defensive perspective, limited, admittedly a weakened side, but they're weakened in defence. They still had Salah, Mane on the pitch. Great finish by Jota as well. I'm not massively in the business of praising opponents, but he's started absolute flames.
As soon as he got the ball, I thought, here's a goal.
Oh, he's super
straight away. As soon as he got that touch in the ball,
so technically good.
No, definitely. Like, again, without trying to echo what you all boys said, but I went on a podcast. Before to preview the game. And I remember talking about, like, basically, I'll be happy with, if we go away with a sort of 2-0 loss, I would have been like, okay, fair play. It's Liverpool Football Club. They're huge. They're great run of form. They beat Leicester 3-0 the game before in the league with a very thin squad. So I was like, well, it doesn't really matter. But the fact that, we came away with a point is class. So no, I was really, really proud of the boys, as Ben said. But no, of course, we have got to talk about, so there was a lot went on, very, very eventful game. So let's start from the beginning then. So straight away, Liverpool, let's be frank, in the first 10 minutes or so, they pretty much, were all over us. I think they had a sort of 3 good chances. I remember, was it Fabinho's ball to Salah? And he sort of shot wide. That was a great sort of effort. But then, so the question to you, Ryan, is the first 10 minutes, we looked a bit shaky, but then after that, for the next sort of 20 minutes, half hour, we looked like we were the better team. What do you think changed? What happened?
I think they missed Henderson. I think they changed it when they brought Henderson on. I think their defence was very weakened. I don't think they had the pace to sort of keep up with us. Connolly and Maupay were working quite well before the penalty miss. And I think, to be honest, for the first half, apart from the first, as you say, 10 minutes or so, I was thinking it was going to be like a big loss coming. But, I think we were really, really dominant, to be honest. We did really well. And then when they scored but didn't score the Salah goal, the offside, that sort of was against the run of play. And I don't know. I think they missed Henderson. They missed a figure in midfield. And Bissouma, I think he was quite underrated for that game, because I haven't seen many kind of praise him, but I think he was class. And I think that's probably the difference in midfield. They were not at it, and until they brought Henderson on, I think they were really weak in there.
I was about to say, as soon as Henderson came on, they looked so much better with him on the pitch.
Yeah, it was a game changer, wasn't it?
No, exactly. And I remember, Liam, you said earlier as well about the fact that they had Mane. Actually, not from the beginning, but they, by the end they had those three attacking players and Jota and Firmino. You know, it's not like going forward they were missing players, was it, Liam? So
yeah, exactly.
No.
Yeah, so with that then, so you know, defensively we talk about, you know, attacking they had everyone there, but defensively, how much of a loss is, you know, it goes without saying, but how much of a loss was all those players and, you know, the people deputising like Nico Williams? How much of a big impact has that been, do you think?
Oh, absolutely huge for us. And I said, you know, I've spoken to people before the game, was that this is probably for us the best time to play Liverpool. And obviously you get times in seasons where, for whatever reason, fixtures are more lucrative or more difficult depending on the opponent. And, you know, you can, once again, only play what's in front of you. Whether, you know, Klopp wants to go on his rants about their games and, you know, the number of subs, etc. But look, there's nothing we can do about that. Our job is to come on the pitch and perform well. And I thought, you know, from a technical aspect, I thought both sides are really, really good at sort of breaking each other down in terms of the directness, footballs over the top and behind. Both probably as a result of the high lines that we both play. You know, we completed some through balls a game. Connolly got sent through early on.
Yeah,
as Ryan alluded to, obviously him putting it wide, but you know, that to be able to create like a 1v1 against Liverpool is something really, really promising. And you know, that's the hard part done. If the difficulty is that you're not scoring it, then I'm sure that's a real big step in the right direction.
I was so surprised because he's normally such a good finisher, Connolly.
Yeah, because the way he shaped for it, I was like, he's put this in, like the way he curled it, and it was, you know, it wasn't a horrendous miss, but let's be frank, you know, when you're 1-on-1 with the keeper, you should be at least hitting the target, make the keeper work, and you know, it was frustrating on that front, and it's just, I think it's a story.
It's a shame it wasn't Welbeck through, wasn't it? If it was Welbeck through,
definitely.
I'd have backed him to score that any day of the week. I think
100%.
Yeah, if Welbeck was through, like when you look what he did to Villa, he just chipped the keeper as if it was nothing, and that was Martinez, who's been brilliant. For
he would have taken it round Alisson like
oh, he would have rainbow flicked him and volleyed it in or something like that.
Off the crossbar,
injured himself in the process. Yeah.
Yeah, like Lallana. No, obviously that was a huge miss for us. You know, Connolly being through 1-on-1, and then of course we then won a penalty, which we all agree it was a very clumsy challenge, right, from Nico Williams.
Yeah, it's an obvious penalty.
Yeah. I mean, you can't really argue with that one. And it's just, I think it's an experience, isn't it, from Nico Williams. And I think his confidence was. I remember. Against Atalanta, I'm pretty sure he got dragged at half time as well. And that was the game before. So, or did he? He might have played the full game.
Wasn't he dragged when they played us in the Amex last season?
Yeah, he was.
Yeah,
he was.
Lamptey destroyed him in the first half.
Yeah, Lamptey.
Yeah. But yeah,
his confidence must be shot right now.
That's what I mean. That's what I mean. Like his confidence must be at the bottom. And so I might be wrong about the Atalanta game, but I know for a fact that he didn't have a great game against Atalanta. So going into the game, he must have just been low on confidence anyway. And then he's given away a penalty, and then he's been dragged at half time. So I do feel for him. But going back to sort of the original point, the fact that he sort of did that clumsy challenge, and then for us to then put Maupay on it. So let's put this to you, Liam. With regards to penalty takers, how important is it for us to stick with one penalty taker first of all, and also then the second question would be, who would you have on if not Maupay?
To give Maupay his fair credit, historically he's been a very good penalty taker. I know he hasn't recently for us, but I think he scored 9 of 11 in actual competitive games. Obviously, he missed in pre-season. Had one saved by Schmeichel, who is obviously a very good penalty keeper. And shows an interesting amount of sort of variance as well in where he puts his penalties. Obviously, Gross has been out for going across the keeper and use that to his advantage against Alisson by sort of shaping up to do that and then going down the middle. So I was a bit nervous when he stepped up because I thought, what does he do here? It's almost like you become too good a penalty taker, a bit like when Harry Kane takes them for England. You have such a good routine of putting it one place. Of course, we saw with Hemad and Murray in the Championship and then in the Prem how beneficial it is to win those penalties and almost know that you're going to score it. Absolutely huge, but I thought Maupay just looked. He seemed to be really focused on Alisson as he took the run up. I saw sort of 2 or 3 times in the replay. He sort of was checking his position and almost seemed to, want to send him the wrong way. And maybe for me, you've not got to send the keeper the wrong way. You've got to hit the target, and you can probably have them dive the right way and still score. So he will be more annoyed than any Brighton fan is, to be fair. But as Ryan said, I fully agree that I think there's something a bit deeper. Sort of under the surface that he's not quite seemed himself since he returned from whatever the sort of spat was. Same in the Villa game was looking a bit almost like he's trying too hard at times in front of goal, trying to, really sort of force a goal. So, hopefully if there is anything underlined that can be resolved ASAP. But he'll come back stronger.
I love that you can just pull out, he scored 9 out of his last 11 penalties just like that, so casually.
I think I did read that.
I've been thinking about it the whole time. Yeah. Oh, did you? Oh, you shouldn't have said that.
I have to be honest.
He's a fraud.
Yeah, and Ryan, you mentioned Pascal Gross. Do you want to see him being our regular penalty taker, or you're happy?
Yeah, I mean, he's only. I'm going to do the stats now. He scored 4 and 5, isn't he, for us? He missed against
Fulham.
I can't remember. Fulham, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, you're right.
Well, we believe him.
Yeah, no, it was that one. So
Liam, we trust.
That was
Liam,
what.
That
was what 2 years ago. So yeah, I think he's got to be the penalty taker. I mean, I was saying when it was on, I was like, got to be Gross. Because look around the pitch. Who else is it going to be realistically?
Dunky.
Yeah, the Dunk maybe. I don't know if I'd feel comfortable though. I'd be like, if Dunk was over it,
I don't know. Yeah.
I'd be scared, especially in 91st, second, third, whatever it was minute. It'd be a bit like, oh god. But yeah, I think it's got to be Gross personally. Like if you've got a German on the pitch, let him take it. Simple as that.
Yeah, the German efficiency. I love it. The German efficiency.
Yeah, that's true.
But no. So yeah, of course, that was a big moment for us. Obviously, we missed that, and I thought from there on in, I was like, this is just not going to be our day. And then he went down injured about, was it a couple of minutes after that? So that was
injured.
Yeah, well, so let's talk about this then. So Ben, what do you think it was an injury, or do you think he was just annoyed and just stormed off the pitch?
I'd like to think that a professional footballer wouldn't go off in a strut like that.
Yeah.
I'd like to think, because that's what he gets paid to do, right?
Yeah.
I doubt you can't just turn up to work and go, oh, I've had a bad call, I'm going to go home now. You can't do that. So I'd like to think Neal Maupay thought actually did have a problem with his hamstring, which I think it was, or something like that, wasn't it? He's holding his thigh or his hamstring. So I'd like to think that he actually did have an injury. But obviously part of it, he probably thought, I need to get off this pitch maybe.
The only thing that
Ryan,
I think about the injury... Yeah, the only thing that I think is like the physio came on, didn't he? And he completely ignored the physio. Like he just didn't want to speak to him. And he didn't wait for a sub to sort of come in. We had like a good 2 minutes without Trossard actually coming on the pitch. He just literally took himself off the pitch. So to me, it just looked like he had enough. He just looked like he just snapped and he wanted to just get off the pitch. Probably like the world was caving in on him. He needs to get off. He just needs to get out of that situation.
He could read the tweets already, couldn't he? You could see the Twitter feeds going ham on him.
I could imagine like being
all going on him.
We spoke to Ankergren, didn't we, about social media? And he said that he just couldn't hack it now as a player. Because I can just imagine like having that amount of abuse and hate and the comments just coming through all the time.
With fan base like United and Arsenal.
Yeah, it just must be
heavy.
It must be hard.
But then the question remains then, surely, if you're doing that then, so if let's say you're walking off the pitch, surely you're then attracting more hate and more abuse because you're then perceived as giving up. You're like, for example, I know this is a different example, but like Daniel Dubois, I don't know if you guys watched the boxing match, Daniel Dubois, he was perceived as giving up. He basically, he took a knee, right? So he got jabbed in the eye quite a lot of times, and
wow, really?
took a knee, and
took a knee.
Yeah, so literally just gave. Well, a lot of these pundits said that gave him a lot of abuse online, saying that he gave up, and so that sort of brings you back to the point of Maupay. Is like, are you then attracting more abuse by doing that? If that is the case, of course, we don't know, but if that is the case, if he's just stormed off,
the thing is, I guess if you wanted to counteract Maupay, is maybe he has brought it upon himself. He wants to be this like big rattler who can do the crying thing into the crowd and like try and wind everyone up by cupping his ears and stuff like that. Like if he's going to bring it upon himself to a degree, he's got to take it back. But maybe I think I don't know, if you're getting things about your family, personal stuff, if you're getting whatever it is, probably not football related, I think that's when it sort of crosses. And I guess, I mean, he did launch, as I said, an appeal to the Premier League. So if it was something to do with that, I can see like his form's definitely dipped since that United game, and I think that's what's happened there.
I saw an article of The Athletic. It said that it was about Neal Maupay and how he idolised Carlos Tevez and that he wanted to emulate his play. So you can kind of see where the shithouse mentality comes from with Neal Maupay trying to
no, definitely
emulating Tevez.
No, and the thing is, I actually I like that edge to him because I think that's what makes him him. Like I wouldn't want to see him, dumb it down or take that away, because I feel like that's the kind of edge that makes him who he is. And I think that's what makes him Neal Maupay, and it makes him a great player, is having that aggression, having that bit of, that bit of spark and that bit of, a bit about him. Because I personally watch football and I love characters. All these big characters you see on the pitch, your Balotellis, all these like characters. I love that. That's part of the game. And I'd hate to see that being taken away just because some people don't like it. I just feel it would be a bit of a shame.
I think with that, like, as I say, he's got to have the quality to sort of back it up. Like you see Jamie Vardy does it. He can just give it and he'll do it. He doesn't care. I love Vardy. And, but he'll back it up. He'll always score a goal. If everyone's having a go at him, he'll score without a doubt. Yeah. And he'll give it back to everyone back. And he doesn't care. And I think that's the thing. You've got to have the quality back. And if you're going to give it all out and then, I don't know, your form dips, you start missing penalties, the fans are on you, it's going to get to you eventually. I mean, you're a human being at the end of the day.
No, 100% agreed. And so we've discussed Maupay quite a lot. So let's move on to one of the other incidents that was there's actually two of these. So there's two no goals given to Liverpool. So the first one, Salah's offside. I thought personally we looked quite open. They cut us open quite easily, which was quite worrying from a defensive perspective. But Liam, what do you think of obviously both decisions? So you had the Salah one, and then also you had the Mane one. I know a lot of people were moaning about the Mane decision. What were your thoughts on those?
The tricky thing with VAR now is that because they let these sort of phases occur, particularly with offside stuff, is that you will concede goals, then have them ruled out. I think that we as human beings in a football sense just have a bias now that because we've seen the goal conceded and then be overruled, rather than it being flagged and Salah making the run, touching it and then it not shooting, I think we have to remember that at the end of the day, the defensive line on both occasions was pretty much perfect. Maybe a bit less so for the first one, but on both occasions you've caught them offside. It's again, Matt Ryan potentially. I'm not someone that dislikes him compared to many. I do still think he's really quality, but perhaps didn't cover himself in glory for the first one. Admit it's quite a scuffed finish. It's quite an awkward goal. He sort of kicks it into the floor, but it's just so central. That you think if he flicks something, a shoulder, tilts his head, would he get something on it? And for the second one, I'm not sure whose man it was, but again, I don't think there's much you can do finish-wise. It was a really good header at the time, but I could see in real time it happen. My first thing was he looked off, and he's admitted with the first one.
Justice was served on that one.
Yeah. Maybe the VAR one's
because it wasn't a foul, was it? Yeah.
I was going to say when Ben White tackled him, I was like, "Oh, that's not a foul."
It's never a foul.
And then I was in my lounge. I was like, "If this goes in, I'm going to lose my shit." Yeah, and I did. I lost my shit.
Like you said, Ryan, it was never a yellow card. Never.
Never.
It wasn't a foul.
No, it wasn't.
He won the ball.
I'll be honest. In real time, I thought it was a foul. Watching the replays,
did you?
It's just the speed he went in at, and I always try and be fair to the rest. Obviously, they don't have the benefit of all these replays and stuff. My first thought was, even if he'd got the ball, it was a very assertive challenge. It was very forceful. And you got to remember that I think the angle the ref had, he was behind the ball. The way he might have seen it, it might have looked more like a foul. So, and we've seen with our overturned decisions for us at Villa with March's one. And also obviously the one with Robertson on Welbeck, that you can benefit a lot from sort of a reverse angle. But thankfully, as you say, it didn't come to anything in the end.
I think that's then got to go down to the rules of the game nowadays. Like, there's so much about the rules that I disagree with now. And it seems to be like we talk more about the decisions than we actually do about the football. And that's and we're on the back of a good result for us. And we're still talking about decisions that happen for us.
Negative stuff.
You know what I mean? It's like we're still focusing on the decisions. And it's like, it's not just, you can't blame VAR because VAR is there to help them out. But it's the rules of the offsides. I think how they're going to sort offside out in the current mess it's in right now, I've got no idea, because I've always been on the side
I don't mind the offside.
Your feet are on, you're on, but that's no longer a thing.
I don't mind the offside, but I think it's just the small decisions, like let's go to the Welbeck penalty. I don't know if that was against me, I'd be really annoyed because was it clear and obvious, the same as the Solly March one last week. And those decisions, it's just such fine margins. Like in real time, it doesn't look bad. And if Danny Welbeck didn't go down, I'm so happy that
he wouldn't have got it.
So imagine if it was someone else, maybe they wouldn't have gone down because it was minimal contact. But because Danny Welbeck finally went to the ground, that's why it was given. Like if he stood up and just continued running, they wouldn't have gone back to it.
So this was a point that Liverpool fans brought up, right? So they said that Danny Welbeck, why did it take him 2 or 3 steps until he fell? And now, so my perspective on this is, so for example, right, now footballers, like we mentioned, VAR, all this sort of stuff, it's so difficult for these footballers right now because if you're too honest, right, and you don't go down, you probably won't get the penalty. If you do go down, you get accused of cheating and being a diver. So you're in this predicament where do I do the right thing? Do I be honest, or do I go down and do I try and get the penalty? So I do feel for footballers at the moment because of VAR, the introduction of VAR and stuff. But I just want more clarity and more communication from the league or whatever, the rule makers, just to let us know, like, this is the rules, and this is why we've given the decision. I think that would help.
That's again got to come down to the rules, though, hasn't it? It's the messed up rules. I don't even understand the offside rule anymore.
Okay. So
the thing with Liam mentioned earlier. Sorry, man. The thing that Liam mentioned earlier about the whole it's not even when you touch it anymore. I don't even know what the offside thing is where the ball's played through and they sort of let the move see out. I get it on the point of the VAR thing where if it's a goal then they can rule it out. Blah blah blah. But it's just, as a fan's point of view, it's so frustrating. And I think as well, on a player's point of view, because we're always talking about player protection at the minute, if that player's run through and then they pull a hamstring, they twist their ankle, or they get taken out by the goalkeeper, they get injured for 3 weeks. They didn't even need to because it was offside. And if that flag's gone up, that injury doesn't happen and the goal doesn't get ruled out or whatever happens. I just think that whole thing is absolutely ridiculous. And that's just my personal opinion. I'm sure, I don't know if you guys agree, but
I think in Europe it's worse because I think they let them play no matter how offside the player is. But when it's a fine margin like that, you can understand that it would go back to VAR. But when it's obviously an obvious offside, in Europe, the linesmen still don't put their flag up, which I find is pointless them even being there. Really.
So I've got a good question for you all. So we'll go around. How would you guys, first of all, do you think it's plausible and would you want to see it introduced, having, similar to in rugby, having a microphone, the referee sort of, speaks to Stockley Park, whatever it might be, and we hear it on the TV screens? Let's start with you, Liam. Would you like to see that introduced and do you think it's a good idea?
Yes, 100%. I saw a really good video of one of the A-League refs in Australia.
I've seen that one.
And obviously I know they talk about the fact, players swear and this and that, but I'm sure that will very quickly put a stop to that if you're repeatedly swearing sort of on TV. From a fan's perspective in the ground, if you can hear what's being said, I think that will clear a hell of a lot of things up, because otherwise, obviously, if you're sat there staring at a screen that's it's just saying VAR, you don't even get the benefit of what they do on TV, whereas where you're seeing the videos and stuff, it would, and it does my head and listen to all the pundits trying to determine, and as Ryan said, that we now end up having more discussion about the decisions, and then you've got pundits who are ex-pros or are really knowledgeable people who can give you really good insight, but they're sat here discussing what might have gone wrong in the phase. So I would, it can't hurt, can it? If you try and it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But worth a go for me.
Right, Ryan, what do you reckon?
Yeah, I'm fully with Liam on that. I mean, it's it also opens a sort of the dark way of football where, match fixing and all that sort of thing. It sort of opens that up a little bit. You don't know what they're saying to each other. You don't know with the whole big team bias thing. You don't know what's being said. They could be saying this and that. We don't know because we're not there.
Mike Dean in there, Stockley Park saying, I've got an acro Man United. Give me
but the thing is, like, as stupid as it sounds, you don't know, and I think we need to understand as fans, like what they're saying and what sort of thing they're looking at, because if putting ourselves back at the games, albeit we haven't been there for a long time, but when we're back eventually, and there's this big purple screen that comes up checking this, and we're just like, what's going on? I don't understand what's going on. And I think they don't even show the incident and they don't tell us what's going on. And I just think it's so poor on the fans, because, we're the ones that, we're the reason why football's as big as it is. Without fans, football's nothing. So yeah, I think there needs to be a lot more clarity on like sort of the decisions and what they're saying. No,
definitely. And finally, Ben, what are your thoughts?
I'll be quick. I'd love it, but I just don't think it would work, simply because the players will swear. That's you hear the players swearing.
But the thing is, in rugby though, I don't think you do you?
Well, I think they just got better manners. Can you imagine? I don't know if you saw the Inter Madrid game. Did you see when the referee was getting surrounded? I think it was Anthony Taylor. Vidal screaming in his face, Ashley Young like screaming, all of them just screaming at Anthony Taylor.
But I do agree.
How much of a snowflake do you have to be?
but that's the thing. Like that's
me?
that's my view on it. It's like, okay, swearing, but like swearing is like a thing where, like, because you can have a delay. So like in boxing, right? Okay. So again, I'll talk back to boxing. The BT Sport, their coverage, they had a delay on the coverage. So the swear words, they beeped it out because there was a delay. So we see it like,
right.
so we see it like, so the producer or editor would edit it out like 10 seconds before, or whatever.
Yeah.
So that's an easy fix. Like for me, I don't see that as a barrier to.
Sky do that anyway, don't they? With chants and stuff. The amount of times I've heard watching the EFL, like chants about Sky being effing SHIT, and then that's really loud, and then all of a sudden it goes quiet, and you start hearing other noises. Yeah, they can. These are multi-billion-dollar companies that can. Yeah, of course they can.
Exactly. All right. Well,
stand corrected. Yes.
I just don't get how people get offended by players swearing and stuff. Like it's a football, mate. It's a football.
I don't get offended.
Like, players are gonna swear. It's going to happen. Like,
it's just natural, isn't it?
And also as well, like I hate going back to boxing because we are a football thing. But you know what they kept doing? They kept bleeping it, and it was like 11:30 at night. And I was like, listen, it's 11:30. If your kid's watching that, like at 11:30, like come on, just get a grip. But yeah. Anyway,
surely if it's after 9:30 or whatever,
the watershed
should be able to. Watershed, you should be able to swear.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Anyway, enough about swearing and all that malarkey.
Fucking hate it.
So going back to just quickly then, we got to talk about with regards to the penalty, Danny Welbeck. I know we've skimmed it, but the Danny Welbeck penalty, a lot of people sort of moaned about it. Was it a penalty? Was it not? Him going down, etc., etc. At the end of the day, in my opinion, contact's made. It is a foul simply because he has made it. Whether he goes down 10 seconds later, whether he doesn't, blah blah blah. So, in your eyes, Liam, do you see the frustration from Liverpool fans, or do you think it's the right decision?
I see the frustration. I think it's wrongly directed. I'd be asking Andy Robertson why you're trying to clear it with that much force when there's someone else challenging for it. I think your problem is the foul, not the fact. You see a lot of times when players will get tackled in the box, and okay, if Danny Welbeck's got to the ball first, he's in charge of then what he wants to do. If he's been fouled, then so be it. Is it really soft? Yes, but then we've also been in the end of some of those with a slight push from Tariq Lamptey, a very contentious one with Adam Lallana. So they're so almost finite and so easy to concede nowadays that you've got to be very careful what you do in the box and any form of contact you make. So I think it might be nice for Liverpool to see what a lot of other teams feel that they have the other way around when soft penalties go the other way. So welcome to the club, sort of thing.
They quickly forgot the penalty they won against West Ham when Salah went down,
or the one they did against us, back when Gross pushed Salah a couple of seasons ago. So
and that as well,
definitely. And of course, as well, a big moment was Ali Reza's missed header as well. So he actually, I think, Brian, you're a big fan of Ali Reza. You sort of flag very high. What do you think of his chance? Do you think it was an easy one? Do you think he should be scoring, or what were your thoughts on it?
He should have scored, but then it's a good job he didn't because I think he was offside. So it's a good job we didn't because didn't we get a corner from that or something like that? So it's a good job we didn't score it. But
nearly a Robertson own goal, wasn't it?
Yeah,
so close.
So
definitely.
It's a good job we didn't score it.
And talking to Ali Reza, he looked really sort of bright when he came on. Do you think, Ben? Do you think he's gonna, he should be getting a starting berth now, or do you think there's just no space for him at the moment, just with the attacking quality we got?
No, I can't see a starting spot for him really. Like we brought Trossard off the bench, and there's no way he's getting ahead of Trossard really. If Maupay's out for the next few games, then maybe we'll see him more. But no, I can't see him starting anytime soon.
Yeah, no, and Ryan, you're his biggest fan. Do you think he deserves a place?
No, I let's be real. No, let's be honest. But with Maupay out, maybe there's another opportunity there. Connolly was good though, so you can't drop Connolly. Although, with that being said, I didn't think Trossard actually did too much against Liverpool. But then there's no doubt in his qualities. Like Trossard's easily one of our best players on his day. So it's hard to sort of see him coming in. But I do like him as an impact sub. I think he does quite well whenever he really comes on. I don't think I've ever, in a long time anyway, that I've been disappointed with one of his performances.
Yeah, no, agreed. And we saw a lot of petulance from a lot of the players. So, well, I say a lot of the players, three in particular. So we saw first, obviously, Maupay going off in a massive sulk, a bit of a strop. You then saw Connolly go off again, fuming, and then finally Salah for Liverpool as well. But let's talk about our players. So, Liam, what does that say about for example, Connolly and Maupay? What do you think that gives the impression to Graham Potter? Does that show that they care, or does it show the opposite?
I think he'll know best, knowing these players day in, day out. I think from Conley's perspective, I know he had a very difficult international break with Ireland in terms of not playing because of a COVID test from someone else he was in contact with, and then it turned out that wasn't the case. So quite literally, which meant that he obviously missed out playing. So he's
leave the judge to us, Liam. Leave the judge to us.
Sorry, I'm just here for stats. I know.
That is the most group chat thing I've heard. Anyway,
yeah. But no, he's obviously had a difficult period of time, and I thought he was probably one of our better forward players.
Definitely.
Maupay obviously is hard to judge him on a limited amount of playing time. Connolly, a very good runner in behind, obviously caused Liverpool problems. Perhaps didn't take his chance. But did he really do enough to warrant being taken off then? Perhaps I didn't feel so. Maybe, again, this is a game management thing. He might have been lined up to only have 60-odd minutes. I obviously don't. Unfortunately, don't know that. But yeah, I think that they're always the sort of players who, particularly Maupay, you see their emotions when they play. Connolly maybe less so, but I think it's still there. So, we've had it with knockout and stuff before as well, that these players that do play emotionally, as you were saying, that they're the personalities. That's why you can't have one without the other. I think that a level of frustration is something Potter would have had too as well. There was a really good clip of him when Ali almost had that header late on, with Potter almost trying to nod it in himself from in the technical area. I think that's standard for sort of all players. Just these two had it captured by the camera, to be fair.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and so did Salah, didn't he? He was fuming, so that kind of made Connolly look a bit less. Well, yeah, a bit less of a stroppy boy. I think Salah did as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think with Connolly as well, we got to take into account. I don't like using age as an excuse, but we got to admit that he's still young, he's still learning. It's all part of growing, and and I'm sure I think he was frustrated more than anything. Like the fact that I think he missed that chance in the early. He's probably still thinking about that, and he just sort of venting his frustration. So I don't think we should read too much into it.
I don't think there's anything wrong with players having emotion on the pitch.
Agreed.
I think I'm always on the side of it shows they do care, because I'd rather them come off in a strop thinking, oh God, I could have done this, I should have done that, and I've played all right. And I think I'd rather them come off like that than just not care. I'd rather them have a bit of emotion and passion for the club, as much as it's a cliche, passion and all that. But I'd rather them be passionate and want to play for the club than just be in a strop. And I think that's why you've noticed my Ali Razor propaganda all over Twitter. But I think that's what it is. I think it's the love for the club and like that sort of thing. I think it's hard not to like a player like that, and I prefer it if they were loving the club.
No, agreed. So just to summarise then, boys, I think it was a very, very positive sort of performance from us. The fact, like I said, going into the game, I didn't expect anything. So the fact we've come away with a draw, it's just testament. And actually, Ryan, I think you said it right at the beginning, or it might be Ben actually. I actually left the game feeling like we actually could have gone away with all 3 points there. So just quickly, just to sort of summarise the game from each and one of you. We'll start with you, Ben. Just quickly, a quick summary on what you thought about the whole game as a whole.
But yeah, it's just very positive. I think what Liam said, us coming from behind, and I love saying the words, as Brendan Rodgers says, great character.
Yeah, great character.
It's a great thing to have. I think, it just shows the squad's fighting for Potter, and I think we've known that for a while now. And then finally, results are paying off, it seems. And we've got a good run of games coming up. I think we've got 4 decent games coming up now where we can pick up some points. So, I'm very positive compared to the past 9 episodes of the podcast.
Liam?
Look, it's a great point, as you've all said, prefacing the game in terms of the level of opposition, what we're expecting, but also feels like 2 points dropped. And I think that both of those things can be true. I think, again, important not to read too much into it, because although the stats will say that we did have really quality chances, that ultimately comes down to one penalty that we missed that will constitute a lot of that. And on another day we do put both penalties away. It's a completely different game. Who knows what happens? But yeah, as Ben said, nothing better than coming back and scoring late on, as we've done a few times now this season.
And what was the XG saying?
It was marginally over 2, but that's including 2 penalties, which are about 0.8 each. So we edged it, but it wasn't a high scoring game outside of the 2 penalties.
So in layman's terms, then, just for someone who doesn't understand what XG
Mm-hmm.
means, or doesn't get this whole stat-based sort of thinking, well, what does that exactly mean? So you mentioned 2 point something. What does that actually mean?
So it's just shot probability, basically, and they add it up. So penalties get scored about 80% of the time. So 4 out of 5 penalties roughly go in. So that translates to a decimal is 0.8. Basically, if you were to take 2 penalties over a game, they'd add that together, and that you would be expected to score 1.6 goals. Obviously, we all know that goals are scored in multiples of 1. You can't score a fraction of a goal. But if you take, for instance, Basuma's goal against Burnley on the final day, that sort of goal will come at a lot lower probability because he's much further out. There's defenders in the way, especially if you start then going wide of the goal. So look, the normal things you'd expect, like you will know as a football fan that one chance is more than another in terms of the chance of it being scored. It's just putting a number to that. So Basuma's one, I think, was like 0.02, 0.03. So it's a really, really good finish that gets scored only a few times out of 100. So it all just looks at sort of repeatability of results. And as you said, Maz, and I was fully agreeing with you about the scoreline mattering. Well, 100%. I think you can be the deserved winners of a game, and you can have very, very few shots. If you defend really well and your keeper makes great saves, you make great blocks, a bit like we did at Villa, and then Solly March popped up with a worldie goal to win it. The chances, what the stats say, are that you won't repeat the result often, but you'll deserve winners because the aim of football is to put the ball in the goal and stop the opponents doing it the other way around. So, I think I don't like the term deserved or undeserved being attributed to XG. It's telling you how likely it is to occur again. So for the Liverpool one, obviously you expect a team to more often than not convert 2 penalties in the same game than to score one and miss one.
Fascinating. That's very. That is genuinely very interesting. And it's nice just in layman terms, because I'll be honest, when you see all these stats thrown at you, like 2.38 and like, what does it all mean? Yeah. Just so have it explained in layman's terms is very interesting. And finally, no, thank you. And finally, Ryan, what were your thoughts on the game?
Have to remember back after the expected goals what Liam said. But no,
you're mesmerised by the whole.
I must admit, I had something in my head about what I was going to say about Liam, and then he goes off on this expected goals, and I just completely drawn into it, and now I've actually forgotten what he said. But no, we think with the whole, we're so lucky to have Graham Potter. I think without him, we wouldn't be getting these sort of results, and we're saying we're, disappointed not to have 2. 3. We're disappointed with 2 points dropped, and that shows really how far we've come in such little time. I'm always on the side of trying to praise Potter as much as I can, and obviously, the results haven't been there. But on a day where we're defending en masse and we're not taking really the game to them at all, I think it goes to show like how far we've come, like taking on Liverpool and being disappointed with not winning a game. Like, it's just incredible. And I think we were fully deserved at least a point there. And I'm really happy with it completely.
Agreed. Yeah, no, good summary, boys. I think we're all in agree. We all agree with the same sort of principle, premise of what happened, and so very, very positive. And it sort of takes us on very nicely, actually, to our sort of next fixture. So let's talk about our next. So looking ahead, so we've got Southampton in the next game. So let's start off with you, Ben, then. Southampton have been in great form. I know they lost to Man United. They lost 3-2 last minute. But, they had some great, first half they were class. They went 2-0 up and then sort of capitulated in the second half. But, how do you see that game going against Saints?
I don't know. I feel like it's quite a tough one to call. I don't know. I reckon it'll be a tight one. Both teams pretty good on the attack, aren't we? I suppose you could say it could compare it to the Villa game. That would be both really attacking teams. I don't really know. I can't really say too much on it, to be honest. I think it'll be a tight one.
Can anyone help him out, Ryan, Liam?
Yeah. I mean, we're notoriously not great against Southampton since Championship days, really. I think the 3-0 result with Matt Sparrow, I don't know if you guys remember, but it always springs to mind whenever I think of a Southampton at home. He scored that 35-year-old goal. It's just, absolute madness. But no, in terms of Southampton, we're never particularly great against them. We normally come away with like a 1-1 draw or something. But no, I'm quite positive at the moment because we've played really, really well. I mean, we've taken 4 points out of Villa and Liverpool, who are 2 teams that we've never taken points off in the league. I don't think we've beaten ever Villa at Villa Park. So we've never got a point against Liverpool. So we're taking these points against teams that we never beat, and that's something to take from that. So going into Southampton, don't get me wrong, they're fantastic at the minute. Hassan Hurtle's done a fantastic job at Southampton. It's clear to see that he's got the team playing really well. And I think, to be honest, we need to almost look at Southampton and think, that's what we could easily be like. They were complaining, their fans were saying we're not getting the results, but we're playing really nice football. And now they're getting their results. Okay, United wasn't a great one, but overall they've been really, really strong. And that Ward-Prowse, just don't give him a free kick.
Yeah, literally, he will put it in the back of the net every time.
That's an expected goal of 100%.
Well, we can ask Liam about that one.
Yeah, his XG must be through the roof. And a question to you, Liam. So obviously, we know that they've been quite good going forward, as they displayed against Man United, but I feel like maybe defensively they're a bit frail at the back. How do you see, what do you think are their weak areas?
I think they're very much like us in that sense, and it should make for a really, really entertaining game, that a side who can create a lot, but will perhaps ship chances as well. Another really high pressing side. If you look at sort of their ball recovery numbers, they're right up at the top, same sort of their rates of pressing. Obviously, I think and hope that Danny Ings is still going to be out. I believe he is. So that is obviously a big plus for us. Obviously, on the flip side, they scored 2 set-piece goals in the game against United. So, theoretically, Ward-Prowse shouldn't be able to keep converting free kicks at this rate, but he seems to sort of hate XG so much that he doesn't care. So I think he's second top, I think, scorer all time for direct free kicks in the Prem now. He's truly outstanding. I think Beckham's the only one that's above him, which is he's truly immense. I think it's what we sort of showed in the game sort of post lockdown, that they are vulnerable defensively. We did create chances. I think more so than them potentially being weak, it's just us having strengths, and that you've got someone like Welbeck now who's really sort of on firing form. He scored 5 goals I think against Saints in his career. He's scored a lot against them. We've got talent. Maupay obviously got his 10th goal last season against Saints. So there's points to be won there. It really depends what Brighton turns up, and it really, I guess, at the same time depends what Southampton turns up.
No, I was going to say, going on the back of their recent results, we're on the back of a decent result against Liverpool, last minute winner. They conceded a last minute goal, so hopefully that'll play and their morale will be a bit down.
No, definitely. I mean, it's a game you look at, right, and you think it's a very, like, the way we've been playing recently, and the form we've got, and the sort of form they're on as well. Like, it's a weird one because we're playing well, they're playing well, and it's not a game it's not a game you look at and think, well, we can't get anything from it. But then it's a game that's like, oh, it is a difficult game. So it's a very weird one for me. Like, I don't really know what to expect. Like you said, Liam, which Brighton turns up will be very interesting, and it'll be interesting. A big question I'm interested to see is how Potter will set up. So, where he'll play certain players, how he'll set us up with regards to what game was it against? Against Liverpool, he started three attackers, which I was like, what the hell's going on here? Like, Graham Potter's gone three up top against Liverpool. I was like, this is unbelievable. Inject it into my veins, and then for all against Southampton, he'll play like 6 at the back or something. It's like you just know you don't know with Potter, which is I suppose the beauty of it. But it'll be interesting to see what we do, and I think I'm very confident going into it. And talking of Southampton, Ryan, you are the golden ticket winner. You've actually grabbed yourself a ticket for the game.
God, Ryan's got a golden ticket.
Yes.
Got a golden ticket.
Talk to us, because I'm actually interested to know, Ryan. I'm actually interested to know the process behind it. So, obviously, I know you were fortunate enough to get it through some various sort of dodgy sources. But what's the usual process of trying to get a ticket? Do you know? Could you fill us in?
Mate, I don't know, to be honest. It's
anyone know?
It was just a lucky. Yeah. It was a lucky golden ticket. There's a ballot, isn't it?
Ticket.
What's that, Ben?
No,
I said there's an Ali Baba stamp on his ticket.
Just bit of luck, I think is safe to say. Yeah. But
all right.
Came in clutch with this one, and I'm very excited for it. I mean, being back at the Amex is going to be great. It's just being back there. I didn't go to the Chelsea friendly, so just being back there, just even if it's only going to be 2,000 of us, it's just to be back is going to be so nice. And I'll finally get to see Tariq Lamptey in my club shirt, which is going to be great.
No, amazing.
I'm glad one of us is going, because it'll be interesting to see if you have any other views that we might have missed watching TV.
That's actually a good point. Yeah, because like I'm always on the side of if you're actually at the game, you can watch players individually and sort of like what they do off the ball and off the cameras that you wouldn't see. And that's what I'm really excited to sort of see if he's fit. Lallana, I really want to see him, how he sort of works off the ball, because I've mentioned it before. I feel like he's probably quite good to watch, I could imagine. But and Lamptey as well. I'd love to see if he does play. I can imagine he probably would. Although with that being said, Veltman's been brilliant. That's something we haven't said on the podcast yet. I've really, really, really liked Veltman. But where he gets into our team now, I don't know, because you can't put him on the left for Webster, which is probably the only one that I'd probably compare him to because of the left-footed thing. But excited.
But I think it's fair to say we're all very jealous. So I hope you enjoy it. And no, it'll be like Ben said. I'm actually really interested to So for our podcast next week. So make sure anyone's listening, make sure you tune in, because we're going to have Ryan, who's actually been at the game. He's going to have a very different perspective.
Expert analysis.
Yeah. So
I'm joking.
Make sure you tune in for that one. And then just quickly going back to Liverpool. I know we sort of skipped. We're sort of going back and front, but just quickly let's talk about because it does relate to sort of a non-Brighton related topic. So I don't know if you guys saw, or people listening, Jurgen Klopp had a very sort of passionate altercation with Des Kelly, the BT
We've absolutely
Sports.
Rattled him.
Yeah, who lives in his head rent free. Fair to say. It was a very. I thought it was fascinating. I watched the whole 12 minutes of it because I missed it at the time, but I watched the whole 12 minutes of it and I found it was fascinating because I think Liam, you mentioned it off air. He was very misplaced in terms of where his aggression and anger was going towards, and he was blaming BT and all this sort of stuff. And he randomly shot. Just aimed at Chris Wilder, which was bizarre. I think his quote was, Chris Wilder's got 1 point and he wants 3 subs. No, he's asking for 3 subs.
He's calling him selfish, wasn't he?
Yeah. So he just absolutely fired shots at him, which was
so harsh,
which was bizarre. But what do we think of the whole? Because obviously it all stemmed from the 5 subs. What is everyone's views on the whole 5 subs? Are we for it? Are we against it? Let's start with you, Ryan.
You may or may not have seen. I did a video for Copper 90 about it. I think I can see both sides. I can see the side that Pep and Klopp are on. I think Potter's on the same side as them. I think he wants the 5 subs. He's very for it, purely because of the whole player protection. Wants to make sure they're not getting injured and stuff like that. But for me personally, I think I can see that side, but I can also think. If we're playing against a City or we're playing against a Liverpool, we're playing against a Chelsea, whatever, big team, they can bring on their world-class players. They can, change the game very, very, very easily in their favour. And I think it's very naive of these managers to say that it's, that it's not an advantage to them, because it is. I mean, let's be honest, it is. But with that being said, I don't know, because with players at the minute, they're dropping like flies. So I can sort of see, the hectic schedule, FA Cup's coming in soon. It's going to be very, very manic, especially for the top 6. So I can sort of see that.
Yeah. And Liam?
I think it's the price you pay for being successful, really, isn't it? That, you have to play these extra games. True. And some people are saying about, I'm sure Graham Potter would love to have the difficulty of trying to manage a Champions League schedule. One sort of really good suggestion that I saw as a nice middle ground would be that allow the 5 subs rule with the condition that the 4th and 5th sub have to be, or 2 of your 5 have to be under 21 players.
I was about to say exactly the same thing.
Graduates.
I saw that.
That is a really sensible way of going, okay, here's how we're going to mitigate this, that, if you're that desperate just to have more players, then you shouldn't be complaining about the talent that you're bringing on. And if you really need to make 5 subs to beat Little Brighton Hove Albion, then I think you need to sort of rethink your game schedule as a big club.
No, definitely. And Ben, anything to add?
I was interested to see what you said, Ryan, about Graham Potter being for the 5 subs, and I guess that just shows the confidence he has in our squad. So
That's true.
I would think that maybe he would, maybe he'd be against having 5 subs because of everyone's argument about the Giants bringing Mahrez on with 10 minutes to go, for example. It just shows that Potter is confident enough in the squad to use the 5 subs. I did hear a funny one, Danny Murphy saying, he's pointed out that Gary Lineker, when he was playing football, was 15-man squads, and they were playing every Saturday. They might have a midweek game as well, and they were coping with 15 players. Now we've got 25-man squads. Why are people complaining?
But it's well, of course, but it's COVID though. Like that's a completely different sort of era that they lived in.
It's a higher intensity game.
Yeah, I was exactly about to say that. So the rigors of the game is completely different. The intensity, I think there's so many factors.
Everyone's athletes now, aren't they? Like we are, like these players are they're all athletes. They are top of their game, especially in the Prem. Like everyone in that division is there for a reason, you know, like the level is just a different level to 30 years ago. Completely,
and
even 5 years ago, to be honest.
Yeah, you even look at, let's say, you know, the Wimbledon crazy gang, and you know, the Arsenal '90s team. They used to go out on the lash they used to go to the pub every Tuesday, Wednesday, and just, you know, have it large. So I think it's a completely different era, and I think it's a completely different time that we live in, and especially with COVID as well. You know, the fixture congestion is mental because of, you know, what's been going on. I just don't think it's comparable. I can sort of see where maybe the point he was trying to make, but I think it's a bit of a weak argument. But just going back to what you said, Liam, about the sort of the three substitutes being normal subs and then having the two under 21s. I think that's a great way to, you know, give the youth players a chance. You know, a lot of these players you see.
Yeah, I love that idea.
Yeah, I think it's a great suggestion. And it'll just and also. Sorry, just quickly. Just what we think we do have to bear in mind is it's just for this season. So it's not going to be like for next season and the season after. It's just for one season. So why not just, you know, get something sorted quickly, avoid all these stupid like arguments and people, you know, doing a Klopp style rant on BT Sport, and just get it sorted. But yeah, go on, Ryan.
Yeah, I was just going to say with the whole under 23 thing, like, and I think Ben, you said about Potter and his belief in the squad, like. In terms of off the pitch, we've got off the first team, we've got so much youth talent. It's ridiculous. Like our youth team is stacked with so much talent. I think we've got that Raider Cardro who's been really good for the under 23s as well. We've just got so many youth talents that we could use. So if that was a rule, it would definitely work in our favour. Yeah, 100%. I mean, we even look at like Zate, who doesn't even get in the team anymore, and he was one of our standouts last season. So, you know, we've got so many youth talents. Malumbi, Sanders as well. So yeah, we've got a stacked youth team.
No, definitely. And then final thing we just wanted to discuss, of course, was the sickening blow that Raul Jimenez suffered with a clash of heads with David Luiz. So firstly, we just want to say, of course, we wish him all the best because it was a nasty, nasty injury. But the good news is he's conscious and he's had successful surgery. So we wish him all the best. But what we wanted to discuss, of course, was... one thing I wanted to mention was Troy Deeney. I don't know if you guys saw this, but
I saw a bit of it.
He controversially mentioned on TalkSport that he thinks that it should be down to the players whether they feel that they're comfortable enough to carry on after a head injury, which I just thought was absolutely bizarre and absolutely mental. Now, we're all shaking our heads, so let's start with you, Liam. What are your thoughts on Troy Deeney's comments there?
I'm glad he's not the one in charge of making the decisions, put it that way. Otherwise, we'd have some serious problems. There's a reason there's experts in this. I thought not just as bad as him, because that was obviously terrible, and I'm glad that he's stable and he's okay. But seeing David Luiz then come back onto the pitch and continue to play, and then head that ball about 2 minutes after, you could see he didn't want to do it. And I thought, like we mentioned about in rugby and other sports earlier on, that the concussion protocols need to be a hell of a lot better in football.
Yeah.
Whether that be things like you get a free sub for a concussion that it doesn't eat into your three, just tweak it in some way that it isn't going to make managers even have to think that they want to keep a player on. In the same way that players make very few decisions about who starts, what subs occur, the last thing they had to decide is their own brain, because to be honest with you, you can't see inside a player's head. You genuinely don't know what's going on. There's a reason you've got people in the squad for this.
No, definitely. I think it just proves that, David Luiz was probably disorientated. He didn't have a clue what was going on at the time. Yeah. So he probably just, he just carried on because he's been told to do so, or whatever. He might have said, "Oh, let me carry on, boss," but he's not in the right frame of mind. Hence why we need a professional to tell us that. So it's all pretty bizarre. I think comments.
I can't say I watched the match. I saw the clip on Twitter, and maybe my memory's bad, but would it be fair to say that David Luiz was pretty reckless? In my memory, I can remember David Luiz literally charging at the ball and obviously heading it out, or was it a 50-50?
I mean, it's a tough one.
It's hard to say that with the header, isn't it?
It's a tough one.
Reality.
No, go on, Ron.
I think reality of it, like in a header, there's not much control over your body. You're just going to fling your head at the ball naturally. That's just what you're going to do. So it's hard to call a reckless header, because at the end of the day, I suppose you could say every header is reckless, really, because that's what it is. You're going with your head, and I don't know, but yeah, the whole thing with concussion, like it's something that I'm really, really passionate about. Like I had concussion for 5 months in 2018. People think it's something that can happen overnight. It can be a week thing. I can tell you it's not. I had it on the Saturday and I didn't feel anything. Continued. I was at work. Continued. Absolutely fine. Sunday, I had a headache, but nothing unusual. Monday, I had a test, I had an exam for my A levels, and I couldn't write. I thought I was writing, but I wasn't writing anything. My writing was all skewed. But it's important to sort of, for these players, because I think people think, oh, it's just a bang on the head, but concussion is literally diagnosed as light brain damage. So I think that's what's it messes you up. You don't know what's going on, and I think for a large part of it, I can't even remember half of it because I was just knocked out. And I think with concussion, people don't really know about it, and with and the initial thing, you wouldn't think anything of it. I was just laughing, because people were just laughing at me for hitting my head. It's funny.
How did it happen? Well, how did you hit your head?
I smacked the back of my head here. So I was working, so I was just stacking this whatever I was doing, I can't remember. But I come back up and I smacked my head on this metal unit, and it just went. It was quite a nasty bang. It wasn't very nice. And I think it's not always with you say David Luiz playing on. It's not always straight away, as I said. It can take 24 hours to actually feel anything. You don't get symptoms straight away. You don't have to feel dizzy. You don't have to feel sick. And I think that in rugby, they use this thing or something like that. I can't remember what sport it was. They use a concussion thing where they have a literal 5-minute diagnosis. They literally can tell straight away. I don't know what they do. I think it's a swab or something, and they can tell straight away. But yeah, it's something that not really many people speak about. It's not really a very spoken about thing in football. And it's sort of come into the thing now with the whole dementia links as well, with header and a ball. It's slightly different, but it's similar lines. And I think, with concussion, it's just it's a horrible thing. It's a really, really horrible thing. And it can affect anyone differently. For you could hit your head in exactly the same way as I did, and you could be absolutely fine. Or Liam, you could hit your head and you could be out for a week. Yeah. It really does depend. And it's a nasty thing. I went from January all the way through to April, May before I actually returned to sort of normality. And it was not very fun time, I can tell you that much.
No, definitely. Yeah, no, definitely. And of
no,
course,
people do, Ben.
It's not a nice subject at all. And we obviously wish, I said earlier, we wish Raul Jimenez all the best because, of course, Ryan Mason unfortunately had to retire. So it'll be a huge shame if a player in pretty much his prime. He's been one of the best Premier League strikers, I'd say. So it'd be a great shame if it went down the line. But fingers crossed it doesn't, and he makes a full recovery. But just
he's fractured his skull, hasn't he? I think.
Yeah, fractured skull. So I think he had a successful surgery. I think so. Fingers crossed. He's on the road to recovery. Fingers crossed.
Hopefully.
But no, it's been a great podcast, Liam. So thank you very much, firstly, for coming on. Where can we find you on all the socials?
So on Twitter, come and find me at Albion Analytics. You'll find me over there, posting a whole load of XG and other nerdy football stat stuff.
XG ASMR. That's what you are doing next, Liam.
I'm still right now. That's great. Yeah.
Basuma with 0.02. Yes, Basuma from far out.
And you've got a podcast as well.
Yes. So I did a podcast over on the page. Thinking I'm really funny with a great pun of expected goals. So changing XG to goals being obviously Seagulls. So do come and check us out over there. We do some more sort of ramblings about Brighton games and stuff. I'll have some fun over there.
Well, no, Liam, we really, really appreciate your time, and it's been very insightful, to be honest with you. So we really enjoyed it, and I hope you've enjoyed it too. And of course, to everyone listening and watching, make sure if you're watching, make sure you subscribe, and of course, like the video. And if you're listening, of course, just spread the word, get us out there to some more Brighton fans. But no, it's been an absolute pleasure, and we shall see you next week.